Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are listening to Bras, Panties, and Sports. I'm Spitface. Please welcome our host, the First Lady of Sports Talk, the one and only Cheryl Smith. Good morning, Cheryl. How's it going in sunny, beautiful Florida this morning?
Well, it's going real well. Like you said, it's sunny here. And, I always say this is the time of year that people love to come to South Florida. And it's a good time of year to be in South Florida. So I'm doing quite well.
Okay, yeah, the snow buddies. I'm gonna tell you, we had the tornadoes in Houston. We had the rain, 40 days and 40 nights out in California. They needed all that rain. They just didn't need it all at once. And then we got some other. So if you're in a nice part of the country, that's a good thing. I'm excited about the show. I'm still somewhat disheartened by the news out of Memphis, where the men just savagely beat another man to death, and it makes me wonder, how someone they were not raised that way. They mama, daddy, or whoever raised it did not raise them that way. So it just so disheartening, and my prayers go out to that family.
Inhumane treatment, that's all you can say.
Now, where do they get it from? All right. Now, First Lady, this week on Shout Out, we have music from Tamara. Will she find her shining star or get the cold feel of the mute button? First Lady, we're ready. What you saying?
Each week we try to figure out what is going on in the sports world, not the plays of the week, more like the players of the week. Are they trying to tell us something? So we ask, what you saying? Fly, little birdie, fly. Time keeps on slipping into the future. Time keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future. So I want to fly like an eagle to the sea. Fly like an eagle, let the spirit carry me. I want to fly right into the future. The little birdies known as the Dallas Cowboys wish they could fly far, far away from a whooping by San Francisco 49ers who played a rookie quarterback. Was this game more about the 49ers defense or Dak's 2 interceptions? Is Dak starting to look more and more like a Tony Romo? Great stats, no rings. Is McCarthy on the hot seat going into next season? Are we seeing the end of the Zeke Elliott era? The Philadelphia Eagles broke out a can of whoop-ass on the Giants. Will the 49ers suffer the same fate? Marvelous Marvin Hagler, rest in peace, Bernard Hopkins, Roy Jones Jr., and the Steve Miller Band are asking, what you saying? Well, I'm going to put it this way. The Cowboys, I'm a big Stephen A. fan and Stephen A. Smith fan, and what he always say, what goes wrong whatever happens always goes wrong with the Cowboys. And it happened. They got very excited on how good Dak was playing against the Buccaneers. Dak had a tremendous game the week before against the Buccaneers. So they thought, the Cowboys fans thought this was going to translate over to a great game against the 49ers defense. But you can't compare the Buccaneers defense to the 49ers defense. So was this game more about the 49ers defense or Dak's 2 interceptions? I am going to say the game to me was more about the mistakes and the lack of offense from Dak and the Cowboys. Now, yes, the 49ers defense was superior, but so was the Dallas Cowboys defense. But Dak couldn't muster up enough points and had a critical interception. They were in the red zone. They was at, San Francisco 18-yard line, driving for a touchdown, and this was just before the half. But at least they could have gotten a field goal. The game, if I'm not mistaken, was 6-6 at that point. So if the Cowboys had gotten a touchdown, they definitely could have gone up into the second half with the lead. But what happened? Dak throws an interception, and after he delivered the interception, the 49ers drove down the field and kicked a 50-yard field goal. So the Cowboys could have been up 13-9 or tied 9-9 versus being down 9-6, and that's what happened. I mean, Dak really had a very, very disappointing game, and considering, like I said, the way he played against Tampa Bay. But Spitfire, you always says he puts up great numbers against bad teams, and so that's how we have to look at it. And I'll say this: Dak isn't Tony Romo. Actually, I think Tony Romo was a more spectacular quarterback than Dak, because Tony Romo really could make amazing passes and plays, but Tony Romo did a lot of bonehead plays. That's the problem with Tony Romo. He made a lot of bonehead plays. Not to say that Dak doesn't make bonehead plays. I mean, prior to this season, Dak was very steady. He didn't make critical mistakes the way he's been making mistakes this year. But the thing about Dak, he isn't special. He's not spectacular. He's a good quarterback, a good steady quarterback. He's very consistent until this season. He was always consistent. He's a quarterback that's not normally he was a quarterback that did not make a lot of mistakes until this season. But he's not a quarterback that's going to be the reason the Cowboys would win, meaning that he's not like Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, or Josh Allen. Those are three spectacular quarterbacks that can be the reason a team will win. That is not Dak. So that lies what Dak is. If you want to call him a game manager, whatever, but he could throw the ball. I think he was throwing the ball too much. I think the Cowboys failed to utilize their running game the way they needed to in prior years. If they use their running game and then let Dak make passes, that would be great. He would be better at that. But when you try to let Dak be very special, I don't think it fares well. And I think that's the reason why he had a lot of interceptions this year. So, I mean, they got a decision to make about Dak, because if I'm not mistaken, is it after this season coming up, he will not have any more guarantee money. So that's going to be the question, whether or not they'll keep Dak or move on from Dak. And speaking about moving on, Mike McCarthy. Yeah, Mike McCarthy definitely is going to be on the hot seat into next season. To be honest with you, he escaped another season of not being fired. But it's really weird, to be honest with you, that Jerry Jones and them, they dismissed 6 assistant coaches under Mike McCarthy. Three of them contracts were not renewed. That offensive line coach, Joe Philbin, he used to be the head coach of the Dolphins, running back coach Skip Pete, and senior defensive assistant George Edwards. All of their contracts were not renewed. Then they fired 3 other assistant coaches. They fired assistant head coach Rob Davis, defensive line coach Leon Lett. I remember Leon Lett. Wasn't Leon Lett the one who made that mistake he was for the Chicago Bears or something? Or the Dallas. No, it was Dallas. He made the mistake. I can't remember, but he made a mistake. I remember there's a story behind Leon Lett. But and Coach Kyle Valero, the analytics coach, they had fired the analytics coach. Why? Is it his fault he wasn't giving the right stats to McCarthy, or McCarthy didn't know how to use the damn stats? I don't know, whatever. So Jerry had to fire someone, but he should have fired McCarthy. That's the guy who is the one that manages all these coaches. And I'll say it again, the Cowboys had the same problems they had from last season to this season. They had issues with time management again in the playoffs. That was costly. Let's go to those 2 costly time management issues. In the fourth quarter, when the Cowboys didn't make the first down, there was 2 minutes and 45 seconds remaining in the game. He sent the punt team in, but they seemed so disorganized and they went in slowly. The clock went from 40 seconds went off of the clock. That's a damn lifetime. Why did you let 40 seconds go off the clock just to do a punt? And then when the 49ers, the 49ers finally got the ball, but it was 40 seconds left that went off the clock. Then with 40 seconds left in the game, that's when the 49ers did not do anything with the ball, and the Cowboys got the ball back. And this is the fourth quarter. The Cowboys were down 7 points. They were at the 49ers' 6-yard line. You got to score a touchdown. You have 45 seconds to score a touchdown. So why is the Cowboy offense throwing these short, dinky passes instead of trying to get big chunks of passes? Now, you know they was in a defensive zone, but it usually, I know they didn't have any timeouts, but they could at least pass under the zone and try to get out of bounds. I don't know. They kept throwing some dinky passes like 5 yards. It made absolutely no sense. You're trying to score a touchdown. And then that last play was really ridiculous because I don't know what they were thinking, because most teams, they run what is called, that where they lateral pass the ball back. You run, somebody catches the ball, you pass it back to another ball player. You remember, that worked for the Dolphins one year against the Patriots. They beat the Patriots on that exact same play. So what does Dak throws a pass and the guy gets tackled. That was the end of the game. So, again, I'm going to say it again. Jerry Jones, he's too loyal to these coaches. He stuck a long time with Jason Garrett. Now he's sticking a long time with Mike McCarthy. Jerry, I think you're about 80 years old. I don't know how old Jerry Jones is, but I know he's in his 80s. You don't got too much time left, Jerry. So if you want to win another Super Bowl, you better get the right coach in there to win that Super Bowl. And I'm sorry, Mike McCarthy is not it. He is not it. All right, let's moving on to is this the end of the Zeke Elliott era? I would be very, very surprised if Zeke is back with the Cowboys. They have an escape clause. Well, I don't call it escape clause. They can exit his contract this year, and he will only have $11.8 million cap hit. Now, the only issue I see, Tony Pollard is also a free agent, and he could garner a lot of attention. Even though he broke his leg, he will be well healed before the beginning of the season. As I look at it now, running backs are a dime a dozen. So the Cowboys can find another one in the draft. So Zeke will be on a new team next season. He will not be on the Cowboys. I think it would be ridiculous for them to keep him on the Cowboys, because really he didn't really have a great season. But then again, the Cowboys really didn't use their running backs the way they should have used their running backs. But that's why you don't need to have two great running backs. I think what they'll do, they'll re-sign Tony Pollard, even though he has a broken leg. But like I said, he's much better than Zeke at this stage of Zeke's life, age and everything. All right, I'm going to move along. The Philadelphia Eagles. I am definitely looking forward to the Eagles-49ers game. It should be a very defensive-minded game, but I expect the Eagles to win, not in a blowout fashion, but they should be comfortable. Brock Purdy is due to make rookie mistakes. He has played fantastic, but the Eagle defense will prove to be very disrupted against Purdy. I expect him to be sacked and have interception. Mr. Irrelevant will become very relevant because he's going to be on the ground for the most of the games, and he's not going to play well. He is due to not play well, so I just think that's what's going to happen. So, we'll see, but I just think it's time for Purdy's luck to end, and I just don't see him doing well, to be honest with you. I really don't see him doing well. All right, Spitface, what's your opinion about all this?
Well, I'm going to start out with talking about the Eagles 49ers, and I think the Eagles will win, and it's going to be an exciting game. and exciting for me because I like defensive games. I love a good defensive game. So, I don't have to see a team score 70 points. I can enjoy an old-fashioned 14-7 where they've been slugging it out for 4 quarters. So I like that. But I don't think Mr. Irrelevant is going to, be the one who caused the 49ers to lose. Now, that doesn't mean that he's not going to have that he's going to have a good day. He's not going to have a fantastic day, but he won't be the cause of them losing. If anything, it just really will be that he won't be able to generate the kind of big play you would need to generate against the Eagles. So he'll be reduced to a game manager, and it'll be a war of attrition. And in a war of attrition, the Eagles will win. Now Jalen might just bust loose, but that 49er defense is tough. So the game of attrition will go to the 49. It will go to the Eagles, but it won't be because Purdy made a bunch of rookie mistakes. It'll just be that defense of Philadelphia is playing Super Bowl defense. First Lady, now some might say that I maybe I'm just being sensitive, but I'm looking at McCarthy and going, it must be nice to be a white coach in the NFL. But I ain't got nothing against you, man. I love people, But sometimes they're like, oh man, it must be nice. Black coach can't get 2 years. Can't get 2 seasons. And I would love for the Cowboys to have a black head coach, because then we know that the guy might have a job more than for 1 season, because of Jerry Jones. But unless that starts being the exception, and we would clearly be able to tell. But that seat is interesting. Zeke, who, as you said earlier, First Lady, seriously doubt he'll be part of the Cowboys next season. Dak, his contract is winding up. It's do or die next season, because I would say that it's do or die. Dak won't be coming back after next season. McCarthy won't be coming back after next season. And it will be rebuild time all over again for the Cowboys. The one bright side is that they've been able over the years to build a defensive type of mindset that's starting to carry over. And that's a good thing. I don't know if Quinn would get a promotion up, but I would look for the next head coach of the Cowboys to be a defensive-minded head coach, because that's where their strength is at. And as they say, defense win in the playoffs and in Super Bowls. Now, at first you say that Dak is at the Tony Romo level. You say Tony Romo did some boneheaded things, but you say he was, you say he was not at the Tony. He is not at the Tony Romo level.
He's not spectacular like Tony Romo was.
He's not spectacular yet. Now I'll say this: Tony Romo did beat quite a few teams that had winning records. It's just that when they got further on down the line, they crumbled. Something would happen. Like you say, something bonehead. But at least he was, and we have to check, but I still say that Dak's record against teams with winning records, especially playoffs, is not where a Cowboy fans would like it to be. But he's great on stats. But when, as you said, he's not spectacular. He's not but he gets paid like he's spectacular. So I go good for Dak. He got the money. But Dak, you got one more season, buddy, and then it's time to start looking at that new uniform you're going to be wearing. Don't know which team, but you will be wearing it. And again, as far as the hot seat goes, McCarthy, bring your ice cubes. You're going to need them next season. That's all I'm saying, First Lady.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah, he definitely, I think if he does not win next season, he will be gone. Like I said, I was shocked that he wasn't gone this season, to be honest with you. But they got rid of these coaches, so we'll see if that has any impact on the Cowboys doing it any better, which I don't think so. All right, Spitface, over to you.
Don't call and come back. I've been here for years, rocking my peers and putting suckers to bed, making the tears rain down like a monsoon. Listen to the bass go boom. Explosion, overpowering. Over the competition, I'm powering. Record shop when I drop these lyrics that'll make you call the cops. Don't you dare stare, you better move. Don't ever compare me to the rest of the August sliced and diced competition paying the price. I'm gonna knock you out, huh? Mama said knock you out, huh? We're talking about the knockout punch to the Bills' dream of playing in the big game. The Bengals defeated the Bills by a score of 27-10. Did the Bills choke, or were they simply overwhelmed by a better team? Is the seat heating up for Sean McDermott, the coach of the Bills? They were finally supposed to get over the hump, beat the Chiefs, and win the Super Bowl. Were they overhyped? Leroy Satchel Page, Walter Buck Leonard, and James Cool Papa Bell are asking what you saying. First Lady, I'm not sure what to say about the Bills, but a little bit of it, the Bills were overhyped. The Bills were penciled in by many of the prognosticators as the team to make it to the Super Bowl and win it all. And on paper, all of that, what they were doing, Josh, and a funny thing happened. Josh started not playing so well the later half of the season. The Bills, like other teams, had their share of injuries. But it really looked like they couldn't live up to the hype. Like the hype was there. They were supposed to be dominating. And what happened? Miami comes along, starts playing like they want to make some noise. The Jets come along. They start playing like they want to make some noise. And, the Patriots, well, they're the Patriots, So the division, all of a sudden got a whole lot tougher for the Bills. The Bills supposed to kind of like spank everybody in the East and roll, and it didn't happen that way. It didn't happen that way. So they were overhyped, and the Bengals honestly looked like they were just simply the better team. And what the Bengals remind me of is a Michael Jordan type of team, which is we do what we need to do during the regular season so that we're, in the big dance, but then we take it up a level once we get there. When we get there, oh, no, this is a whole different season. And the Bengals have that kind of attitude where they do what they need to do in the regular season, but it's like a switch goes off when that playoff hit, and they game just elevate. And where it at the beginning of the season, many were looking at the rematch between the Bills and KC and who would have the best record, and really kind of downplayed the Bengals. The Bengals proved that they were no fluke. They did not luck up and get to the Super Bowl. Them boys, them some rough riders. Them boys can play. And I'm not going to say the Bills choked. It just really looked like toward the end of the season, they just were not playing all that well. They were winning, but they were not rolling as predicted. And that seat may be heating up a little bit, because when you got teams that are like right there knocking at the door, after 1 or 2 seasons, if they don't get over the hump, a coaching change happens. Because it's like, wait just a minute, I'll say that Sean McDermott isn't a Tony Dungy. Okay, where, hey, you got the team all built, designed, and there's some work that needs to be done, but he might not be the man to take them to the next level. And so next season, that's it. That seat is going to get awfully warm. First Lady, what you say?
The Bills started the season off as the number 1 contender to win the Super Bowl. But like you said, by the second half of the season, to me, they kind of limped into the playoffs. Even though they had a 13-3 record, they had several issues against good teams. The Bills had issues with their defense. Let's face it, they allowed the Bengals to score a lot of runs in that game. In fact, in the first drive, Burrows completed his first 9 passes. The Bengals had an injury-plagued offensive line, but they dominated the Bills' defensive line. I mean, completely dominated them. And, the injury to Von Miller definitely played a very important factor for the Bills, because they did not have a resemblance of a pass rush. They never really put pressure on Joe Burrows. And, they never tested that offensive line. But, I don't think the Bills choke, nor do I think they were overhyped either. I truly believe they were the best team coming off of last season, and the way they played in the beginning of the season. I just think that they ran into better teams. And, there were some injuries that impacted the Bills. It was after the fact Josh Allen talked about, well, no, he did have a bad elbow, I believe he had. But on that day, the Bengals were a better team, because the Bengals had been ascending in the right direction. You remember, the Bengals were coming into that game as just as hot as any team in the league. And if you remember, the Bengals started the season off very slowly, because Joe Burrows had appendectomy surgery before the training camp. So their defense was very slow, but that team's defense is a juggernaut. I mean, they are great offensively. They're hard to beat when they get rolling. They have the passing game. They have the running game. They're just a complete team. The only thing that's suspectable about the Bengals is their offensive line. And their offensive, I don't know whether their offensive line played so darn well, or the Bills' defensive line played so poorly. I really think the Bills' defensive line played so poorly. But so I'm not saying this team was overhyped. I think the pundits really thought the Bills would do really well this year. And, they had other issues. I mean, there was so much going on in Buffalo between the black people that were killed. Then you had the storm, and then you had the terrible incident regarding Hamlin. It's just a lot of outside noise bothered the Bills this year, but that's not making any excuses, because you play on the field, and they lost on the field. And I'm sorry, the Bengals just romped them on that field that particular day. So I think you have to give more credit to the Bengals. I think they are a much, much better team than the Bills. Now, is Sean McDermott seat warming up or seat heating up? You can say that is lukewarm. It's a little bit lukewarm, but I think McDermott is going to be good for several years. I mean, he's taken this team that was pretty much irrelevant for several years to one of the top teams in the league. To me, I think what is needed, I think the GM is the one who needs to do better. He needs to get Josh a few more offensive weapons to go along with Stephon Diggs. And particularly, they need a dynamic running back. Josh can't be their run offense. I mean, it's too risky for him. He's going to get injured. And, they need to get a great running back, and they can probably get another receiver to go with Stephon Diggs. Because everybody knows if Josh is not going to run, he's going to give it to Stephon. So their offense became very predictable, and I think that's some of the issues. So if they can get a few more pieces on the offensive side, and they got to bring Von Miller back, because it's clearly that was one of the biggest things, because they didn't have a pass rush anymore. But if they bring Von Miller back, and if they can get more pass rushing and they can get more weapons, I will consider the Bills to be one of the favorites for 2023 season. So that's all I'm saying, Spitface.
Okay. Now, First Lady, I do want to say, Bill, don't pick up Zeke. Don't do that. Leave Zeke alone. Don't be tempted. Yeah, we'll bring in Zeke. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Well, you get him at a low cost. Get him at a low contract.
Oh, they ain't gonna get him at a low cost. Zeke gonna want some money, but I don't think he's gonna get the money he wants. But no, don't need. Well, if you can get Zeke at a low enough cost, Zeke is actually a good blocker, and he can catch the ball.
Yeah.
So he's actually for that protection, Zeke is a good man to grab. But if you need them yards, younger, cheaper, dime a dozen. Okay, First Lady, please take us to break.
Stay tuned. Coming up next, we have a performance from Tamara on Shout Out Part 1.
The music flows in from around the globe to get a shout-out from the panel. First Lady, I can't wait to hear the music from Tamara.
On Shout Out, we feature new independent artists who are looking to find their shining star. If we like what we hear, we'll give the track a shout-out. If we don't like it, we hit the view. Today, we are featuring Tamara from South Carolina. They say some people are born talented, blessed with vocals that are beautiful and melodic. Oh, Lord, I can't even pronounce the word right now. But anyway, beautiful and true talent, such a gem and a natural. Tamara's music brings a positive vibe to spread the love. Okay, so all right. Well, we've been deciding whether it's Tamara or Tamara, and if we got it wrong, we apologize. But let's make one thing sure. We want to hear your music. So, DJ, let love show. And this is the Samba remix.
Thinking back, oh, it was rough, baby. Things were so sad. Now today, everything has worked out, baby, somehow, some way. And I give thanks. Oh, instead of blaming others for all of the crazy, you know, I started in my mind saying and claiming, let love show, let love show. Ooh, the light that lives inside me now, I'm going to let it grow. Let love show, let love show. Ooh, love that lives inside me now, I'm going to let love show. Well, here I am. Oh, I'm reaching out my hand. Take my hand. There you are. Oh, with all the troubles, I know things can feel so hard. Still, the power that's inside you is truly amazing. You know, it all starts in your mind, saying and claiming, let love show, let love show. Oh, the light that lives inside you, now come on and let it grow. Let love show, let love show. Oh, the love that lives inside you, now come on and let love show.
Okay, all right. So, Tamara, what's her name? Tamara from South Carolina. I'm gonna shout it out. I like the samba version. I guess there's another version. This is that samba remix. So I love with the acoustic guitar background, the music. So I'm gonna shout it out, Spitface. You know, her vocals. I mean, she's not a dynamic singer, but it goes with the song, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. You know, her voice is, she has like an alto voice. So, but I still enjoy the song, so I'm shouting it out. What are you doing, hitting the mute, or are you shouting it out?
I'm going to shout it out, and I sort of felt like she kind of toned down the voice to fit the song. Mm-hmm. You know, how like you almost kind of feel like you were teased a little bit. I kind of felt like I was teased a little bit by how she could sing, and I don't know if it was the song or if she was just staying in her lane. But I liked the song. I liked it. You know, I like you said, I liked the guitar, the mix. It was smooth, so I'm shouting it out.
Okay. Well, on part two, the shout out, we will feature another track from Tamara. Is that the sound of our favorite underwater friend? Is it time for Flip It?
Faster than lightning, no one you see is smarter than he. And we go swimmers, live in a world full of wonder, flying there under the sea.
It is time for Flip It, while host defend a point and then flip the script and defend the opposing view. At this point in the NBA season, should LeBron James be a legitimate contender for the MVP? Panel, defend. If LeBron has MVP stats, then he should be a legitimate contender. Yeah, First Lady, LeBron, as far as LeBron goes, he's up there with everybody else. He has stats that would say he's a contender, so he deserves to be considered a contender. Now, the Lakers are not contenders, but that ain't his fault. And by the way, First Lady, we got an office pool going on to see how long street clothes is going to remain in. How long he's going to remain in uniform attire for the games? When will he revert back to wearing street clothes? So we already got that going. So when you got that, when you got no team around you, and you're the only one, things can get kind of lost because your team ain't doing that well. But LeBron he's up there with the elites, and his stats allow him to be a legitimate contender. First Lady, defend.
It's interesting. LeBron should be in the MVP contention every year because he has strong stats every year, but has only won 4 MVPs. He's won 4 MVPs in the span of 5 years. The last MVP LeBron won was 2012-2013 season. Now, LeBron should have won more MVPs than that. I think LeBron gets penalized for always having great stats and being just good, but never given the award anymore, similar to what happened to Michael Jordan, you remember. He only won 5 times and should have won more times. When you're great, the pundits start to take your greatness for granted, and there's no more wow factor. And you know what happens. Something new comes along, and they decide they're going to give the MVP to somebody new. But LeBron has great stats, and if you have great stats, you should be in the consideration for the MVP. And like you said, it's not his fault the Lakers are not winning because it is what it is. It takes a team to win, but a player can be in the MVP considerations if they are leading their team and they have fantastic stats. And his stats are up there with Jason Tatum, Embiid, Joel Embiid, Jokic, and Giannis. LeBron is right there with all of those guys. So he should be considered in the MVP contender. He definitely should be an MVP contender.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to flip it and defend. Great stats on a losing team does not make an MVP, even for LeBron. LeBron is not a player who is about getting stats. LeBron is a player who wants to win championships. which is the kind of player that you want to have. Unfortunately for LeBron, being the MVP, and you're on a team that is, I'll say, the only team with a worse record is the Rockets. You're at the bottom of your conference. No way, Jose, will you win an MVP and your team is sucky poo that bad. Part of the measure for the MVP is, of course, the stats, but it's also how well the team got elevated. Because there have been players who had great stats, but they didn't get the MVP. And because their team was just so lousy that it was like, well, yeah, you're going to get the stats because nobody else on your team can do anything. So that is what will keep LeBron back. Now he's the MVP of the Lakers because Lakers ain't got nothing. But to be the league MVP, your team has to be in some kind of contention, and the Lakers just simply are not. So he was not able to raise the level of play for the rest of the team. So sorry, LeBron. And Michael Jordan should have got a few more of those MVPs. But the people who did, they were on teams that he beat up, but they were in contention. First Lady, defend.
Now, LeBron has been putting up great stats. He puts up great stats every single year. But this is the first time that he's been on a team that his great stats are not translating to wins, period. I mean, with the exception of the bubble pandemic, LeBron stats, that's when they won the championship. But again, that was, you could put asterisks all around that championship because it was through the pandemic. And other than that, I mean, let's face it, what has LeBron done for the Lakers? I mean, he does put up his great stats, but the Lakers have not been winning. I mean, he's been with this is his fourth year with the Lakers, I believe, going into his fifth year. They're not winning. That's about all I can say. They're not winning. So to me, to be MVP, you have to be able to lead your team. Like you said, Spitface, he's not making the other people around him better. That's what an MVP does. So currently the Lakers are in 13th place, 4 games under 500. I'm sorry, his great stats are not translating to wins. So he doesn't deserve to be even in the consideration for the MVP. Because the team is not winning. You cannot have a person win MVP award with their team almost darn near in last place. And I'm sorry, it just doesn't work that way. It has never worked that way. If you look at all the people who won MVPs, they are winners. Their teams are winning. That has to be one of the criterion to win the MVP. You have to at least minimally have a winning record. Because if that's the case, there would have been a whole bunch of MVPs with losing teams. Because like you said, they're the only ones scoring. Okay? All right. So sorry, LeBron. Let's face it. The Lakers are not what they used to be. And like I said, you got to get them to a point where they are winning and winning really well in order for you to be considered MVP.
And First Lady, it looks like LeBron and Tom Brady, because they got COVID championships. And that's not to diss them because they had to play the game. They played. Every other team in the league had to play. But let's face it, they got the COVID championships, and after that, it's been downhill. It's been downhill. First Lady, please take us to break.
Stay tuned. Up next, butt kicking and our favorite underwater friend on Flip It Part 2.
Flip it. Hit it.
Welcome back. You are still listening to Bras, Panties, and Sports. Let's see what's happening on Butt Kicking, where we look at all things in the world of combat sports. Deontay Wilder says his fans don't come to see him fight for world titles straps as they want to see him knock out his opponents. Not win useless trinket belts that have lost whatever meaning they once had in this era. The titles are now meaningless for former WBC heavyweight champion Bronze Bomber Wilder, whose record is 43-1, 42 KOs, because it's not the reason why people flock in large numbers to see him in action at this stage of his career. With boring champions like Tyson Fury, with his ugly, mauling style of fighting, one can understand why fans prefer to see an entertaining fighter like Wilder. While the ultra-hardcore boxing fans may care about titles, the casuals don't give a fig. Hence, you've got all fans wanting to see you two boxers who don't fight for titles, but rather to entertain their many followers. It doesn't matter that Wilder doesn't hold one of the belts because the straps have lost value because of the large number constantly produced by the sanctioning bodies. What do you think about that, Spitface?
First Lady, I remember a time when there was the WBA and the WBC, and they would have unification bouts. And the unification bouts would be someone had the WBA title, someone had the WBC title. They get together and settle it, who would have the combined title. Then enters the IBF. So now you got a WBA champion, a WBC champion, and an IBF champion. And pretty much the same thing. Someone would have the WBA, someone had the WBC, someone would have the IBF. So they would kind of get in the mix to have a unification bout of these different ones, and you had that. Now we look up and we have the WBA, the WBC, the WBO, the IBF, the IBO, the IBA. And that's just the name of the, and don't forget what, the ring. So you have 5 major organizations right there. You know, that starts to dilute. But overall, there are 42 boxing organizations. 42. That's a lot. And while many of them are probably back burner, it does start to dilute the quality of athlete, of boxer that is rising. Also, the fact that you have these, I really, you have these guys who, as the article alluded to, who have these YouTube followers who they do not care about, as I said, they don't care about titles. They just want to see these particular guys fight and what can they do and root for them. And so it's like a whole new world. And, Wilder has just looked at it and said, look, this is the way it is. I can make more, and it all comes down to the money. Am I making as much money or more, fighting these YouTube boxers than going through the structure of the top organization so I can get certain matches? part of that, you got to blame these organizations. What are y'all doing for the boxing, for the world of boxing? What are y'all doing so that, do y'all need Dana White to come over and show y'all how to do it, to build an audience that these YouTube boxers who don't have nearly the talent of the boxers in the organized arena, but the YouTube boxers are dominated. So I blame that on the organizations for not getting their act together for the sport of boxing. And as far as Wilder, I want to see the money, because if the money is, because this kind of hints that the money is with the YouTube boxers, and if that's the case, they need to really look at this sport. That's what I'm saying, First Lady.
All right. They said boxing is not like it used to be, as they say, right? Boxing has changed. All right. Well, it's time for our favorite underwater friend. It's time for Flip It. Tampa Bay lost to the Cowboys a few weeks ago, and that ended their season, but not the speculation around Tom Brady. Is the best thing for Tom to retire or go to the Raiders and team up with his boy, Josh McDaniels? Panel defend. Tom can no longer take a licking and keep on ticking. He should retire and get back with his honey and the kids. Spitface defend.
Tom. Tom, it's there are some things in life that you just have to look up and say, baby, I was tripping. I don't know what I was thinking. I should have never let you go away in that divorce. But I know you had to teach me a lesson, and I'm here on knees begging for you to let me back in. I have learned my ways. I'm letting that old football go so I can be with you back with my family. So, Tom, now you might want to work on that speech a little bit, buddy. From what I can see, teams that you could go to, even the Raiders, you're gonna have to take a licking, and you just, now you ain't fragile, but one or two hits, you offer your game. So it's time for you to get back with your family, the kids. I mean, she's right next door, just across the street. But it's time to ride off in the sunset so that they ain't carrying your butt off the sunset. That's what I got to say, First Lady.
No, we don't.
With your honey, boy.
No, we don't want him to be carried into the sunset. Not that way. Well, Tom needs to forget about Giselle. Tom has that $375 million waiting for him from Fox Network to be their lead analyst. I mean, come on, Tom. Take the money and run instead of running from these defensive linemen. You already demonstrated you can still play this game at a high level, but you have nothing more to prove. Also, why go to the Raiders? Because Josh McDaniels is not a good head coach. He doesn't even know what he's doing. And I don't think, I don't think there's a difference of you being with the Raiders versus Tampa Bay. You're not going to win another Super Bowl with neither one of those teams, so why go to the Raiders? We know you are the GOAT. So move on to your next career, Tom. Please move on to your next career and become the GOAT in the media arena. He had already previously been doing radio because I used to hear him on Westwood One. He used to do a lot of the Monday Night Football games. So he already knows how to be an analyst. And you know what, Spitface? We sick of Tony Romo now. We need a new voice. So, Tom, please give it up. Go to your next career, please. All right, this is Flip It, so panel defend. Tom is one person who truly understands Josh's strategy, and the Raiders have receivers, it would be a good move. Spit-face defense.
I'm Tom. Now, Josh McDaniels is going to be on the hot seat next year. And what will take him off the hot seat is having Tom Brady there. If they get TB there, that's a whole different organization. Now, Tom is not going to win an MVP, but Tom is the kind of player who raises the level of play for the team that he's on. He just can't raise the level of play for a team that he's on and they ain't got nobody. Now, that he can't do. The Raiders got folks. The Raiders, the Raiders fell apart with Josh's attempt to implement an offensive strategy that was just completely different from how they had been operating. And you got Tom Brady, who has been in that system forever, who Josh's best success, of course, you say that with Belichick, was with Brady. Well, Josh and Tom get along. They rather like each other. That would be a great move for the Raiders, and that is the only team that gives Tom Brady one more shot to get in the playoffs, make some noise, and maybe, through some miracle, win another Super Bowl. Where else is he going to go where they, have enough of a team where he wouldn't have to go through a big rebuild? He can't go to a team that's really doing a bunch of rebuilding. The Raiders, they got that receiver who was up in Green Bay helping Aaron Rodgers. They got him, but they ain't got nobody to throw to him. But bring Tom Brady in, the Raiders all of a sudden can make some serious noise. That's what I got to say, First Lady.
Okay, so you bring in Tom Brady to the Raiders and make some serious noise. Yeah, I mean, it would probably be great for Tom Brady to reunite with Josh McDaniels. They won 6 Super Bowls together in New England, and he knows that, that offense that Josh likes to run is unfortunately that Derek Carr didn't know it too well. So that's why Derek Carr is going to be traded. So, maybe Tom's hoping going to the Raiders is going to be a game changer like it was when he went to the Buccaneers, but I don't think, we'll see if the Raiders are at that same level as the Buccaneers were when Tom went to the Buccaneers. They would obviously be a lot better with Tom Brady than they would be with Derek Carr, because, again, Brady knows McDaniel's offense and knows it really well. And the Raiders have a lot of offensive weapons, but, their defense is not that great. But that's besides the point. I think with Tom Brady there, and I can see things being a lot better for the Raiders. Now, will they win a championship? That's another thing to be said. But who knows? Maybe if they go to the Raiders, Gronk would come out of retirement. And you remember the reports came out before that the U.S. Dana White tried to broker a deal with Tom and Gronk going to the Raiders beforehand, but Chucky decided that he didn't want them. That would be John Gruden. He decided he wanted to stay with Derek Carr. So we know how that has worked out. So yeah, I mean, I know other places that Tom could go that to me would be better than the Raiders. But I think what Tom likes is being familiar with people and working with people that he's comfortable working with. So that would be the best thing for him to do, is to go to the Raiders and work with Josh McDaniels. And who knows? Tom is always uplifting, and there seems to be that a lot of the players around Tom, they react, and he has a way of them raising their level of play. So who knows? Maybe they could win a championship. I'm never going to say never. So, I mean, Tom going to the Raiders could maybe bring a championship to Las Vegas. All right. Spitface, please take us to break.
First Lady, I'm trying to figure out what's the difference between a Buccaneer and a Raider. They both pirates, ain't they? I gotta, because I said, he go from one pirate uniform to another pirate uniform. So, maybe there's something there. Now, on the other side of the break, we have another performance from Tamara on Shout Out Part 2. Please stay tuned.
Welcome back. The music flows from around the globe to get a shout-out from the crew. Spitface, over to you.
Well. We have another performance from Tamara. And DJ, may we please hear You and Me. And we don't need no dog named Blue. Just you and me.
You and me. You and me, it's you and me, baby. Come right here, beside me, love. If only for today. I'll give you all you're dreaming of. Melt your cares away. Well, baby, if only for right now, tomorrow melts away. Well, I hold you right here in my arms without a word to say. Come lay down beside me, love. Well, baby, your body's so smooth and glistening with a sweet and salty taste, yeah. And if only for right now, yeah, we have a chance to play. Well, I'll hold you right here in my arms, and we'll love the night away. I think we got the real thing, but if only for this moment, yeah. Well, baby, yeah, only for right now. It's you and me, baby. It's you and me, baby. It's you and me, baby. Yeah. You and me. It's you and me, baby. You and me, baby. I know we can't make promises, 'cause you live so far away. Time never seems to be long enough, and I know you cannot stay. And if only for right now, tomorrow melts away. Well, I'll hold you right here in my arms, and we'll love the night away. Hey, yeah. but if only for this moment, yeah. Well, baby, yeah, only for right now. It's you and me, baby. It's you and me, baby. It's you and me, baby. Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. You and me. It's you and me, baby. You and me, baby. It's you and me, baby. It's you and me, baby. Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. You and me. It's you and me, baby.
You and me, baby. First Lady, what's the blading?
Oh, I'm definitely shouting it out. I think that song there displays more of her vocals. I think, you were spot on when you said that she kind of like didn't show her complete ranges in that first song. And I thought this song, you definitely could hear her vocals more. And definitely shout it out. She has a nice voice.
All right. Well, I'm giving it a shout out as well. Tamara, she got some skills. Also, her music is put together really well produced. Mm-hmm. So whoever's doing the writing, arranging, and producing, you guys and gals are heading in the right direction. Now, that is the end of shout-out. If you like what you heard from Tamara, check her out at TamaraLWilson.com and Old Grumpy Radio Network. If you'd like to be heard or have any comments, please send your emails and tracks to talent@oldgrumpyradio.com. First Lady, over to you.
Well, it's time for the picks. We have come to where there's only 2 more weeks left for football. Well, actually more than 2 weeks, but there's only 2 more big games. We are talking about the NFC, AFC championships today, and then February the 12th, we got the Super Bowl. So these games are determined who will be in the Super Bowl this year. All right, so let's get to last week, divisional round. Dizzy Mac ended up with 0. Spitface, you had minus 50 million points, and I had 50 million points. So it is close. Now, I don't mean Dizzy Mac is out, but, Dizzy Mac he felt like Humpty Dumpty there. He had a terrible fall. And Spitface, you are leading with 333.95 million points. I'm coming up in second with 328.75 million points. Dizzy Mac has 54.8 million points. All right, let's get to, because these scores, man, a lot of points. All right, win-loss is $100 million. $100 million points. I wish it was $100 million. 100 million points. Bengals versus the Chiefs. I have the Chiefs. I just cannot see Patrick Mahomes allowing the Bengals to beat them 4 times in a row. And I just got to let you guys know this. I think it was the mayor of Cincinnati. He recently came out with a tweet asking Patrick Mahomes, is Joe Burrow his daddy? Now you know.
Who's your daddy?
Who's your daddy? He said he wanted Joe Burrow to take a paternity test to see if he was Patrick Mahomes' daddy. Now you know that is on that board in that locker room. You know that. So I was tossing back and forth regarding who I was going to go with because I think the Bengals are a great team. I love Joe Burrow, cool Joe. But when I saw that tweet and they talked about that, I said, oh, no. Oh, no. Patrick Mahomes is going to be spitting fire, and the Chiefs are going to be spitting fire. So I'm going with the Chiefs. Now, Dizzy Mac has the Bengals. Spit face, who do you have?
I'm looking at everybody's worried about Patrick Mahomes and his ankle injury. And Patrick Mahomes is starting to remind me of Terry Bradshaw. That's right, Terry Bradshaw. And Terry Bradshaw got, 4 Super Bowl rings? And one of the things that I would see with Terry Bradshaw back in the day was Terry Bradshaw would have a leg or ankle injury, and he would hobble to the huddle. He'd hobble to the huddle. Then he'd hobble back to the line. And then he'd run around and torch your butt. And that's what Patrick Mahomes is going to do. He's going to hobble around. And then, he's late. And the next thing you know, that ball going to be flying. And so I'm going with the Chiefs. And I'm going with the Chiefs not just because of Patrick Mahomes, but the defense, it's not is Joe Burrow Patrick Mahomes' daddy. It's Joe Burrow, the defensive player's daddy. And they the ones who, they actually have a really good defense, and I suspect a better defense than the Bengals. This time around, 4 times is the charm. The Chiefs will win.
All right. 49ers versus the Eagles. Dizzy Mac has the Eagles. Spitface, who do you have?
Go Jalen.
All right. I think all 3 of us are going with the Eagles on that one. All right, so we got to go to our props. Over, under, push. 50 million points for each. Joe Burrow, 3 passing touchdowns. Spitface.
Push.
Okay, you and I on the same run because I got push too. Dizzy Mac has over. All right. Kansas City, KC defense, 2 sacks. Oh, my gosh. I've been tossing and turning with this one so much, because you know what? I actually study my stats. This is the first time I ever really studied stats. I looked at prior games to see where people are, and the last I'm going to go with a push for 2 sacks. Dizzy Mac has over. Spitface, what do you have?
I'm going with over.
You think they're going to really sack it? They're going to really get after Joe Burrow?
Oh yeah. Who your daddy?
Anyway, I was looking at what they did against him in the 3 games that they previously played. So I'm gonna go with push. I think I don't see no more than 2. It could be under 2. But anyway, Patrick 200 passing yards. I think that's funny. That was a gimme as far as I was concerned. Even though he didn't have. Well, yeah, that's a gimme. So I have over. Dizzy Mac has over. Spitface, what do you have?
I'm going with the over.
Yeah, that one. I think the producers gave that one to us. Jalen Hurts, 50 rushing yards. Dizzy Mac has over. Spitface, what do you have?
I'm going over.
Okay, I'm going with the under. I looked at that real hard. He hasn't had 50 rushing yards in a while. So he's been throwing the ball more than he has been running the ball. So I'm going with the under. The last time I think I looked at, he had 35 yards. All right, Purdy, 2 passing touchdowns. Spitface, what do you have?
Push.
Yes, I have a push too. And it's so funny. I looked at this game. He's up until he's played, 7 or 8 games? He's had, I think it was like 6 games where he had 2 touchdowns, 2 passing touchdowns. One time, 2 games, his last couple of games he's had 3, but 2 I put push 2. Dizzy Mack has under. Eagles defense, 2 sacks. I have over. Dizzy Mack has over. Spitface, what do you have?
I'm going with a push.
You're going with a push. Oh, you don't think they're going to get – see, I think Purdy's going to get sacked more than Joe Burrows.
Yeah.
Okay. Bengals versus –
I think that Purdy I think that the 49ers are going to try to make it mainly a run game so that he's not throwing the ball.
Right. All right. That depends what the score is, though, because they may have to score. They may have to pass if they get behind. All right, Bengals versus Chiefs, 60 combined points. Dizzy Mack has over. What do you have, Spitface?
I'm seeing the game like 30-24 or 28. I'm going to go with the under.
All right. I had gone with the under also. Dizzy Mack went with the over. 49ers, Eagles, 51 combined points. Spitface, what do you have? Did I ask you first the last time? Or no, I think okay, I'll go first. I have under. Dizzy Mack has under. What do you have, Spitface?
I'm going with the under. I don't see this being a high-scoring game, but it might end up being lopsided. So I'm going with the under.
Yeah, okay. All right, so that's it. We coming down to the wire, another season. And I think, to be honest with you, I really think both games are going to be spectacular, to be honest with you. They're both, you got the Eagles, 49ers is number 1, number 2 defenses, I believe. And then you got Burrows versus Mahomes. And there's so much riding on that for Mahomes because he cannot allow Joe Burrows and the Bengals to beat them 4 straight times. That's saying a lot. You know what I mean? That's definitely saying a lot. All right. Spitface, what is your top story to watch this week?
The Aaron Rodgers situation in Green Bay with the talks that he may be traded because of, quote, financial reasons.
Well, I'm going to continue, my top story to watch this week. I think this week is when people get really serious about the NBA trades. It's going to be the next couple of weeks. The NBA trade deadline is coming up. So I'm going to continue to say the NBA is my top story this week because of the trade. They're already discussing a lot of trades, so we'll see. Join us as we honor our veteran women and veteran women with disabilities. To learn more, please visit honorourveteranwomen.com, honorourveteranwomen.com. Check out current and previous episodes at braspantiesandsports.com and our Facebook page, BP and Sports. This is Cheryl Smith, the First Lady of Sports Talk, and Spitface. You have been listening to Bras, Panties, and Sports. Enjoy the games.